Hey, Thaddeus.
Hey, how's it going, Hilda?
You guys, I was going to say welcome to my channel. He is on my channel, but we're in his house. So.
That's right.
We just had an amazing time at the Point Retreats and at the Wild Rice Retreat, kind of getting cold and getting the right light stuff. And I was like, Thaddeus, we have to talk about your new book, The Hibernation Diet, because he covers such topics in this book. Talk to us a little bit about what it's like, not just to eat seasonally, but to live seasonally.
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole theory on writing the Hibernation Diet was about we, in my opinion, should change the way we live in the winter. And so we don't eat the same foods in winter because the same foods aren't available outside our window because there's snow covering the ground. Mm-hmm. And so our biology was adapted to eat a seasonal diet. So everyone's like, eat locally, eat seasonally, but I don't know anyone that really does that. So we adopted this lifestyle, my wife and I, for like 3 years and tried it out on ourselves. And what we did in the winter is we went into like this hibernation mode. So we ate more of like a ketogenic fat and protein diet. Mm-hmm. And we started going to bed earlier, and we used different types of lighting around the house. And we started to find that when the winter progressed, we didn't have like seasonal effectiveness disorder. We came into the summer looking better than when we went into the winter, which is kind of the opposite of what happens with a lot of people. And we didn't have to work out more or eat less or do any of these other things. Just following these guidelines that we came up with, really about the right type of light, the frequencies that we're missing in winter, and eating the right type of diet made a huge difference.
It's so amazing because we're used to living the same way year in, year out. I mean, not year in, year out, but yes, year in, year out,
sure.
And every season. So I'm having pineapple in the summer and pineapple in the winter, and everything's available all the time, and we think we should keep up the same pace. But what I liked about part of what you said in this book is, just like the bear slows down in the winter, perhaps our lives' pace should slow down as well.
Yeah, and actually the bear and the rabbits and the squirrels, like other mammals, they pack on a lot of fat in the fall for the coming winter, and some of them even hibernate. And how do they know it's time to hibernate? How do they know that they aren't able to have babies in the winter? Because no mammals have babies during the winter. And how do they know what foods to eat to have enough body fat to nourish them all winter? And so it's the light from outdoors. And we, living indoors, we don't always get the same signals as the other animals. But we do get some of those signals. So the signals when we go out to our car, we take a walk outside, they're telling our body that it's winter and there's no carbohydrates available, but we keep eating sugar and carbohydrates and fruits. So we start packing on weight for like a winter that never arrives.
I think T.S. Wiley in her book, Lights Out, talks about this. She's like, it's perpetually summer in terms of how we live, and that's not how we were meant to live.
Definitely not. And I reference T.S. Wiley in this book often. So she was a real inspiration for me to try out this new way of living in the winter. And I found a few things that she didn't have back in 98, 99 when she wrote the book. So I added those to the book, and I added them to my winter routines to try them out and found huge benefits. So things like red lights and ultraviolet lights, like things that were missing, these missing frequencies. I was like, how can we use these in the winter, and are they beneficial? And I found that they were hugely beneficial.
So you have a chapter called We've Been Kept in the Dark. Were you referring to this kind of light hygiene that you're talking about, or something else?
It's twofold. So we are kept in the dark about how our biology actually works. So because our biology reads the light levels, when we keep the lights on all winter, the man-made artificial lights inside, they signal our body that it's summertime. And then we eat these summertime foods and we start packing on fat for wintertime when we're supposed to burn body fat. When we go outside, we're supposed to get a certain light signal. But I think we're kept in the dark, both figuratively, like we're not told these things about our biology, that they run off light, but also literally that when we turn the lights on inside, they are the same temperature, the same colors come out of them all day long, all year long, and we're missing quite a few frequencies that the sun would give off that we need to be healthy that are not in the indoor lighting. So I'm calling that like an artificial darkness, because we're missing frequencies of light that we need to be healthy.
So is one of the secrets to be healthy through the winter simply getting outside?
That is huge. If you simply did nothing else but get outside, and there's certain times of the day that are better than others. If you're getting outside at dark, like most of us in the winter, especially here in Wisconsin, we'll go to work at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning or even 7:45, and then come home at 5 p.m. and it's dark when we leave and it's dark when we come back. So when we get outside, it's dark. And getting outside is great at any time of the day, even when it's dark. But the key is, yes, if we got outside more when the sun was out, it will signal to our body the time of the year, the time of the day, and start to sync up our circadian rhythm.
Well, that just reminds me of how we were outside a lot this past weekend on this retreat, but not only were we outside, we were doing some cold adaptation. What signals do we get from the temperature even about how to live?
Absolutely, we get huge signals from the temperature. So especially here in a northern cold climate in the winter, our skin and our internal body and the DNA inside of us, the mitochondria, all the cells, both sync to light with the clocks, but also to cold, where the cold tells our body to start producing heat. And typically, you're like, well, my body always produces heat, but it actually doesn't produce heat in the same way in the winter as it would in the summer. There's something called thermogenesis, or creation of heat. And our mitochondria are like, everyone knows them as like the energy centers of the body. They create energy to keep us alive and to move and to do all the things that we do. We have to have energy. Most people don't know that the mitochondria can also create heat and not energy. And that only happens, those are ancient pathways that are only opened if we experience cold. And when we experience cold, the mitochondria stop producing energy and they start producing heat to warm our body. And when they start producing heat, it signals to the brain that it's cold. And we make all these new chemicals in our brain that we wouldn't normally make if we never got cold.
And these are the chemicals that help our bodies actually burn fat.
Absolutely. So the mitochondria, when we burn fat, produce more energy. So they would prefer to burn fat because it gives you more energy in the winter. And supposedly, we would have been storing fat all fall and summer, and then we'd be burning our own body fat in the winter. But since we continue to eat carbohydrates, we just keep packing on more fat without ever burning it for energy. So the cold signals to the body both to burn the body fat and produce a type of fat that's more metabolically active and keeps us warmer all winter.
The brown fat.
Brown fat.
I love that because that's what kids have. That's why kids are like, Mom, I don't need a sweater.
Exactly.
And we want to live
And
like
you're like,
that.
no, you need to be covered up and warm. And they're like, no, I'm totally fine. Kids, especially babies have like almost all brown fat. And we always thought scientifically that it just went away. And it does go away, but it's because we don't cold adapt our kids. So our kids are never exposed to just cooler temperatures all winter. So the brown fat goes away. If we simply experienced a little bit of cold all winter, and it's not like you have to be cold and shivering all day and all night, but experience cold outside throughout the winter, then you would maintain brown fat from the time you were a child.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And so these things that you're describing are good for our health, to change our light habits, to get outside more, to change the lighting in our houses so it reflects more of how our ancestors may have lived with red light at night and so forth, to eat a more fat and protein heavy diet in the winter, avoid carbs, and then to let ourselves get cold for these benefits you're describing of building more brown fat in the body and burning more visceral fat.
Absolutely. And our ancestors would not necessarily have used red light because they wouldn't have had any.
Correction.
But they would have used firelight. And firelight has almost no blue light to it. It's heavy in the red, infrared, and orange. And since most people aren't willing to light their homes with firelight, we mimic the firelight with red light. So we can still we can find red lights, we can screw them into light bulbs, and we can still see, but it doesn't destroy the circadian rhythm or the nighttime hormone that really keeps us healthy and is responsible for all the anti-aging effects of sleep. Whereas regular light bulbs will destroy that hormone. And then all winter when we're hopefully sleeping more, then we get the benefit of melatonin if we're using the right light.
Oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. So this is just a little taste of what's available in this hibernation diet. And I'll put links so people can find you in the notes below. But you guys, this man has helped change my life. I get in cold tubs. I'm a Latina. It's like, what's happening? It's because I've learned and experienced how rejuvenating all of this is and how energizing it is. And so thank you for sharing, not just with me, but with folks here. And I hope you guys benefit from this too.
Check out the book. It's got lots of good tips for living well and living healthier so you come out of the winter a healthier, happier person.